Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2. The Lord in the Heart. Shloka number 17 and 18. न यत्र काल अनिमिषां पर प्रभुः
न यत्र काल अनिमिषां परः प्रभुः
कुतनु देवा जगतां ये ईशिरे
कुतो न देवा जगतां यैषीरे
न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च
न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च
न वै विकार न महान् प्रधानम्
न वै विकारः न महान् प्रधानम्
परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमनन्ति तत्
परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमनन्ति तद्
यत् न इति तत् उत्सृजुक्षवः
यत् न इति न इति तत् उत्सृष्टुषुषक्षवः
अतते बहुतेक ते विसृज्य दौरात्म्यम अनन्य सौहृदाः
विसृज्य दौरात्म्यम् अमनन्यसौहृदा
हृद उपगुह्य आर्यपदं पदे पदे
हृद उपगुह्य आह पदं पदे पदे
न यत्र काल अनिमिषां परः प्रभुः
न यत्र कालः अनिमिषां परः प्रभुः
कुतनु देवा जगतां ये ईशिरे
कुतो न देवा जगतां यैषीरे
न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च
न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च
न वै विकारः न महान् प्रधानम्
न वै विकार न महान् प्रधानम्
परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमन्ति तत्
परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमनन्ति तद्
यत्न इति न इति अतत् उत्सिसृक्षवः
यत् न इति न इति तत् उत्सिष्टुक्षवः
विसृज्य दौरात्म्यम् अनन्य सौहृदा
विसृज्य दौरात्म्यम् अनन्यसौहृदा
हृत् उपगुह्य आर्यपदं पदे पदे
हृत उपगुह्य आर्हपदं पदे पदे
न यत्र काल अनिमिषां परः प्रभुः कुतनु देवा जगतां ये ईशिरे न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च न वै विकारण महान् प्रधानम् परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमनन्ति तत् यत्न इति न इति अतत् उत्सृसुक्षवः विसृज्य दौरात्म्यम् अनन्य सौहृदाः हृत् उपगुह्य अर्रपदं पदे पदे
न
हरे
यत्र
कृष्ण।
कालः अनिमिषां परः प्रभु कुतः न देवा जगतां यैषीरे न यत्र सत्त्वं न रजः तमः च न वै विकार न महान् प्रधानम् परं पदं वैष्णवम् आमनन्ति तद् यत् नैति यत्तत् उत्सिश्रुक्षवः विसृज्य दौरात्म्यमनन्यसौहृदा हृत् उपगुह्य आर्हपदं पदे पदे
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In that transcendental state of Labdhopaśānti, there is no supremacy of devastating type, which controls even the celestial demigods, who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of the demigods themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor material causal ocean, nor the material nature. The transcendentalist desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worship the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. Purport. A devastating time, which controls even the celestial demigods by its manifestation of past, present, future, does not act on the transcendental plane. The influence of time is exhibited by the symptom of birth, death, old age, and disease. And these four principles of material conditions are present everywhere in any part of the material cosmos up to the planet Brahmaloka, where the duration of life of the inhabitant appears to us to be fabulous. Insurmountable time even brings about the death of Brahma. So, what to speak of other demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Vayu, and Varuna? The astronomical influence directed by the different demigods over mundane creature is also conspicuous by its absence in material existence. The living entities are afraid of satanic influence, but for a devotee on the transcendental plane, there is no such fear at all. The living entities change their material bodies in different shapes and form under the influence of the different modes of material nature, but in the transcendental state, the devotee is gunatit, or above the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Thus, the false ego of I am the Lord of all I serve does not arise there. In the material world, the false ego of the living being trying to lord it over the material nature is something like the moths falling in a blazing fire. The moth is captivated by the glaring beauty of the fire, and when he comes to enjoy it, the blazing fire consumes him. In the transcendental state, the living being is pure in his consciousness, and as such, he has no false ego to lord it over the material nature. Rather, his pure consciousness directs him to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Vasudeva Sarvam iti sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. All this indicates that in the transcendental state there is neither material creation nor the causal ocean for material nature. The above mentioned state of affairs is factual on the transcendental plane, but is factually revealed in transcendentalist knowledge of the advanced state of pure consciousness. Such transcendentalists are of two types, namely the impersonalist and the devotee. For the impersonalist, the ultimate goal or the destination is the Brahmajyoti of the spiritual sky. But for the devotees, the ultimate goal is Vaikuntha planet. The devotees experience the above mentioned state of affairs by attainment of spiritual form for activity in the transcendental living service of the Lord. Does not develop a spiritual body for spiritual activity, but remains spiritual spark only, merged in the effulgent spiritual rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the full-fledged form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. But the formless Brahmajyoti is simply eternity and knowledge. The Vaikuntha planets are also form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And therefore, the devotees of the Lord who are admitted into the abode of the Lord are get bodies of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. As such, there is no difference between one and another. The Lord's abode, name, fame, entourage, etc., are of say a transcendental quality, and how this transcendental quality differs from the material world is explained here with in the verse in this verse. In Bhagavad Gita, three principal subjects have been explained by Lord Sri Krishna, namely Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. But one can reach the Vaikuntha planets by the practice of Bhakti Yoga only. The other two are incompetent in helping one reach the Vaikuntha lokas, although they can, however, conveniently take one to the Vipuljan Brahmajyoti as described above. In the Bhagavad Gita, Mat Dham, my abode, is mentioned several times. And according to the version of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, there exists the unlimited spiritual sky, wherein the planets are called Vaikuntha, or the abode of the personality of Godhead. In that sky, which is far, far beyond the material sky, and it's say one-fold covering. There is no need of the sun or the moon, nor their necessity of electricity for illumination, because the planets are self-illuminating and more brilliant than the material suns. poor devotees of the Lord are absolutely in harmony with the personality of Godhead, or in other words, they always think of the Lord as their only dependable friend and well-wisher. They do not care for any mundane creature up to the status of Brahma, the Lord of the universe. Only they can definitely have a clear vision of the Vaikuntha planets. Such pure devotees, being perfectly directed by the Supreme Lord, do not create any artificial perplexity in the uh, matter of transcendental understanding of by wasting time in discussing what is Brahma and what is non-Brahma or Maya. Nor do they falsely think of themselves as one with the Lord, or argue that there is no existence of the Lord separately, or that there is no God at all, or that Lord living beings are themselves God, or that when God incarnates himself, he assumes a material body. Nor do they concern themselves with many obscure speculative theories, which are in actuality so many stumbling blocks on the path of transcendental understanding. Apart from the class of impersonalists or non-devotees, there are also classes who pose themselves as devotees of the Lord, but at heart maintain the idea of salvation by becoming one with the impersonal Brahman. And they wrongly manufacture their own way of devotional service by open debauchery and mislead others who are simpletons or debauchees like themselves. All these non-duties and debauchees are, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, the Duratma or crooked souls in the race of Mahatmas or great souls. Such non-duties and debauches are complete excluded from the list of the transcendentalist by the presentation of this particular verse by Shukdev Goswami. So the Vaikuntha planets are factually the supreme residential places called the Parampadam. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti is also called the Parampadam due to its being the rays of the Vaikuntha planets, as the sun rays are the rays of the sun. In Bhagavad Gita 14.27, it is clearly said that the impersonal Brahma Jyoti rests on the person of the Lord. And because everything rests on the Brahma Jyoti directly and indirectly, everything generated from the Lord, everything rests on Him. And after annihilation, everything is merged in Him only. Therefore, nothing is independent of Him. A pure duty of the Lord no longer wastes valuable time in discriminating the Brahman from non-Brahman, because he knows perfectly well that the Lord Brahman, by his Brahman energy, is interwoven in everything, and thus everything is looked upon by a devotee as the property of the Lord. The devotee tries to engage everything in his service and does not create perplexities by falsely lording it over the creation of the Lord. He is so faithful that he engages himself as well as everything else in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In everything, the devotee sees the Lord and he sees everything in the Lord. The specific disturbance created by Duratma or crooked soul is due to his maintaining that the transcendental form of the Lord is something material. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakana Rugunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubecha Krupa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Pranam. We can we try to understand Canto 2, chapter 2, the Lord in the Art, Shloka 17 and 18. Here, they're describing about the impersonalist and personalist difference between how we understand impersonalist and uh, devotees, and ultimate goal or destination of impersonalities is the Brahma Jyoti of the spiritual car, where devotees ultimate goal is Vaikuntha planets. Here again Bhagavad Gita describe three principal subject: karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. But only bhakti yoga help, due to bhakti yoga's practice, we go to back home, back to Godhead with the help karma yoga, jnana yoga. Then 18 shloka, they're describing about the absolute truth, uh, not creating the perplexity, but worship the lotus feet of the Lord of every moment. That pure duty, taking them into his heart. This describing in this shloka, no, non-devotees and departures. Uh, According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, those are the duratmas or crooked souls. uh, Shukdev Goswami then presented particularly this verse for the transcendentalist. How they describing, how they told, describe. Prabhuji will tell us in nicely in detail. Hare Krishna. Pancha kalpatarubhecha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavane Vaishnavyo namo.
Hare Krishna. Transcendental reality beyond time, beyond matter is what we are understanding today. So Shukdev Goswami ji is talking about Labdhopaśānti, the transcendental state, where there is no supremacy of time. And we know that time controls even the celestial demigods who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what happens in Labdhopaśānti state is there is no effect of mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even false ego, nor material causal ocean, nor material nature. And such transcendentalists, they desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with Krishna. So pure devotee is always in absolute harmony with Krishna, and he does not create perplexities, keeps on worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. And that is where the discussion becomes importance of this Labdhopaśānti, the attained state of peace. Here, person, the jiva, is untouched by destructive forces of material nature. That is why, since time cannot act, there is no question of birth, death, old age, disease. While we see that under the influence of time, even celestial beings like Brahma, Indra, Varuna, they are under the grip of Kala. But in spiritual state, time has no influence. And there is freedom from gunas. So they are guna atitaha, the transcendentalists, free from goodness, passion, ignorance. There is no egoism of I am the Lord. There is only true identity and true surrender. The living being is conscious of the true identity and so naturally surrenders to Sri Krishna. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sammahatma Sudurlabha. And not only that, he also understands जीवेर स्वरूप है नित्यर कृष्णदास. That is eternal servant of Krishna. So there are two paths. One which is taken up by the transcendentalists, the impersonalists, the jnanis, and the second which is traversed by the devotees or the bhaktas. So the impersonalists, they aspire for Brahma Jyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of Lord. And so they attain only the Sat, eternity, and maybe Chit, knowledge, but never bliss, Ananda. So they remain as spiritual sparks. And after some times, because there is no Ananda, they again fall down into the material world. And look at the devotees. They aspire for Vaikuntha, which is the abode of the Lord. And so they receive spiritual bodies which are full of eternity, full of knowledge, full of bliss, Satchitananda. And they continuously serve there. So it's bhakti only which can lead us to Vaikuntha. Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga can lead on to Brahma Jyoti, but only Bhakti Yoga grants access to Vaikuntha Loka. And it is not that this is a conclusion which has been arrived at recently. There are scriptural evidences for it. Brahma Samhita 5.1, it is mentioned Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna is the Supreme Lord with form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter, Shloka 8, 12, 15, it is mentioned Krishna is the source of everything, the cause of all causes, the supreme personality of God. So Krishna, so many facts about him. He can expand into countless forms. That is why Narayan, Vishnu, Paramatma, so on and so forth. He is independent, he is omnipresent, he is the source of the three gunas, and he is the one who is the sustainer. He possesses Shadaishwarya, all the six opulences. He has all the Ashtasiddhis, all the eight perfections. He is free from time, birth, death, and all material limitations. And that is why there are dangers of incomplete knowledge. The impersonalists, the Mayavadis, because they reject the personal form of the Lord, they lack bliss and often fall down due to incompleteness. The true joy, Ananda, requires personal interaction with Krishna through the loving relationship which is absent in unpersonal realizations. And that is why Shukdev Goswami ji extols us to see everything in relationship to the Lord. A pure devotee sees everything as connected to Krishna and worships his lotus feet constantly without getting distracted by false philosophies or speculative theories. That is why in the purport, Prabhupada is highlighting so many important aspects. He's talking about absolute harmony, that pure devotees are in complete alignment with Krishna. They do not indulge in speculative confusion or philosophical contradictions. They are talking about the vision of the spiritual world, where only those surrendered to the Lord can have a true vision of Vaikuntha, a place which is full of light beyond the material universe, needing no sun nor moon. And that is why Prabhupada asks us for rejection of speculation. True devotees, they avoid debates on what is Brahman and what is Maya, because they know everything emanates from Krishna, the Parabrahma. While the Duratmas, who are the false devotees, the Sahajas, the pseudo devotees, they pursue sensual pleasure or merge with Brahman. Prabhupada calls them crooked souls disguised as saints and are totally excluded from real transcendence. So, what is the real Parampadam? The Vaikuntha planets, not the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. It's the Vaikuntha, or even beyond that, the Golok Vrindavan, which is the supreme destination, Parampadam, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.27 as well, which we have been studying so many times and which Prabhupada also refers. So, what is important is that we completely study these Shastras and understand it. The correct perception, the darshan, or the philosophy is as mentioned in the 31st to 33rd shloka, which we studied in the third chapter of first canto. You must not learn to see with the material eyes, but you must learn to see through spiritual hearing, Shravanam. And that is why, towards the start of this lecture, this chapter, and again it will come in the sixth chapter of Bhagavatam, Virat Rupa is mentioned. For those with material vision, the Lord reveals himself as the cosmic form, the universal form, to help them advance. And once they advance, there can be self realization. True realization begins when one becomes indifferent to the gross and subtle bodily needs, acts in Krishna consciousness, and knows oneself to be eternal servant of Krishna, Jivan Mukta, even while living in the world. A little ago, we were studying Bhagavad Gita 12, chapter 16, shloka. The same things were mentioned, anapekshaha. Prabhupada ji, he talks of self realization as becoming indifferent to bodily needs and being serious about soul's activities. And Jiva Mukta is one who is engaged in devotional service with body, mind, and words and is liberated. So, the key message that we have from these slokas today is that only by recognizing Krishna's supremacy, his personal position, and surrendering in bhakti, we can attain true bliss, liberation, eternal service. All impersonal speculative paths ultimately fall short on this ultimate destination. So, if we are really serious to achieve Krishna and Krishna's abode, we need to start concentrating more on our sadhana. We need to concentrate more on association with the devotees, on reading of the scriptures, on chanting, on taking only Krishna Prasadam as diet, on engaging in deity worships, engaging in seva to the devotees, to the Guru, and constantly remembering the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. And today, on the auspicious day of Nirjala Ekadashi, we should take this as a vow that we'll try to keep ourselves always thinking about Krishna, chanting more and more to please Krishna, and whatever way we can, we'll try to serve Krishna and his mission. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has ordered us, Chare dekha tare ka Krishna Updesh. So it is our responsibility that we spread about the various online forums, offline centers, where association can be taken, Shravanam can be done, and we can become sincere in our path of bhakti. Thank you very much.